Hi, fourth graders. We are on Unit 3, Lesson 14. Today we're going to be going over how to subtract from hundreds. This will probably be more of a review for you, but I will be showing you today how we borrow using place value drawings and then how to set up a problem in order to correctly subtract. To start, I have an example problem here that reads, Jimmy dropped a 400-piece jigsaw puzzle, and the pieces went all over his room. He found 264 of them. How many are still lost? So to begin, I've already drawn 4 of our 100 boxes. If you remember from our place value drawings, the boxes stand for 100. Because you would imagine that there's 100 little dots inside of them, or 10 of those 10 sticks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now ideally, if I had these drawn perfectly, you would see that 10 of those 10 sticks fit into a hundreds box. Now, to start this math, I need to realize that they are doing subtraction. The reason I know that is that he started with 400 pieces and he dropped them around his room. He found 264, and they want to know how many are still lost. So I'll set this up by doing 400 minus 264. Now, with subtraction, I cannot take away 4 from 0. So I need to borrow some ones. So in order to do that, I have to borrow from next door, which is the tens place. Well, currently there aren't any tens there. So what I do with these place value drawings, you'll see here that I've already taken one of my 100 boxes and I've broken it down into 10 sticks. Then, in order to get some ones to do the subtraction over here, I'm going to have to borrow from one of these 10 sticks, which remember is equivalent to 10 of the single dots. So now I've borrowed from one of the 10 sticks. So now I have 10 ones that I can use here, represented with the green dots. But because I borrowed one of my 10 sticks, which is now crossed out with this green X, I only have 9 tens left, which you can see here. Because one is crossed out in green, I have 9 tens left. And notice that I borrowed those 10 sticks from one of the hundreds boxes. So now my hundreds place, there's only 3 of those. So now let me show you with my drawing. Because I had to borrow to get enough ones to subtract, I took away one of the hundreds boxes, so now there's 1, 2, 3 of them. I had to take away one of the 10 sticks to get 10 ones, so that left me with only 9 10 sticks left, as we can see in our problem here. And then I have 10 ones that I'll be borrowing here to subtract. So now I can go ahead and start my subtraction. So now that I have 10 ones, I can do 10 minus 4 to give me 6. Then I have 9 tens minus 6 tens, or 9 minus 6, that I can do. That leaves me with 3. And then 3 hundreds minus 2 hundreds, or 3 minus 2, gives me 1. So my answer would be that there are 136 pieces that are still lost. All right, so now I have a new question, which is just generally asking, how do you ungroup 200 to subtract 25? So I'll set up this problem with numbers. So in standard form, 200 minus 25. Well, remember that in order to do this, I'm going to have to borrow from the next place over because I can't do 0 minus 5. So I have to borrow 10 ones, but because there aren't any tens yet, I actually have to borrow from the hundreds. But remember that when I borrowed from the tens, I take away one of those tens, so there's only 9 left. I'll show you how that works here. So because I didn't have any ones, I first have to ungroup 100. And group that into 10 sticks. So there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But remember then I needed ones to borrow, so I ungroup one of the 10 sticks into 10 ones. 5. So now I have 10 of those represented here. So now I can do 10 minus 5. And because I ungrouped one of those 10 sticks, That's why we only have 9 left. Then you'll notice that I also had to borrow all the way from the 2 because I had to cross out one of my hundreds boxes to do all of this borrowing. I now only have 1 hundreds box left. Now that I'm ready, I can go ahead and subtract. 10 minus 5 is 5, 9 minus 2 is 7, and 1 minus 0 is 1. So 175. Now I have another sample problem to show you borrowing from hundreds. This one reads, there were 300 cookies at the beginning of the bake sale. At the end of the day, 176 cookies were sold. How many were left? So I'm going to quickly show you the math here. So I've set it up 300 minus 176, showing you how to line up my numbers correctly, putting the larger number on top always. So I cannot do 0 minus 6, so I have to borrow. So I want 10 ones here because I borrowed from a 10 sticks. Because I borrowed from the 10s, there's only 9 of those left. And in order to do that, I borrowed from the hundreds. So now there's only 2 of those left. I'll show you that visually. Took away one of the hundreds boxes, so now there's only 2. That changed into 10 of those 10 sticks, because 10 times 10, remember, is 100. Then I had to borrow from the 10 sticks, leaving us with 9, because I needed 10 ones in order to subtract 6 from it. So now you can see where I get my 10 ones from, because I borrowed from the 10s, so now there's only 9 left, and that had to be borrowed from the hundreds, so now there's only 2 left. So when I subtract, now I'll do 10 minus 6 is 4, 9 minus 7 is 2, and 2 minus 1 is 1. So final answer here is 124 cookies that are left. Now I'll show you one example without the place value drawing so that you can see how to do it quickly. The place value drawings really are only drawn there in order to show you how the math works, so that you're not like, well, where did this random number come from? So you see with those place value drawings how the process goes. So now I have an example problem here, 500 minus 285. So I'm starting to line up my numbers, put the greater number 500 on top, minus 285. Now I cannot do 0 minus 5, so I have to borrow so that I can get 10 ones. Now I borrowed that from the 10s place, which means that there's only 9 left. But because there weren't any 10s, I had to borrow from the hundreds, which means there's only 4 left. So again, I can quickly show you that. If there are 5 hundreds boxes, I had to first ungroup the 100 box to give me 10 sticks. And then I had to ungroup one of the 10 sticks to get 10 ones. Remember, because I took one of those 10 sticks, that is the reason there's only 9 there. And this becomes a 4 because we had to ungroup one of the hundreds boxes. So now I solve. 10 minus 5 is 5, 9 minus 8 is 1, 4 minus 2 is 2. So 215 is my answer. Now it's your turn to practice, boys and girls, on our ticket. Your first question here is a word problem that I'd like you to solve. This one reads, there are 600 students in the school. 438 students arrived early. How many arrived late? Your second problem to solve will be a simple problem where all you'll need to do first is line up your numbers correctly. 400 minus 179. Remember to put the larger number on top to line up your numbers in order to subtract. Use the place value drawings if they're helpful. Otherwise, go ahead and solve. Good luck.